On today's episode of WatchJRGo, we have a very hot Altima and a driver that's not very happy about that. What is going on, guys? I am WatchJRGo, and today, like I said, I'm here with the statue in his 2013. Oh, I was guessing. Yeah. I had no idea. 13 Nissan Altima, and this has been basically in your family since day one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you bought it new.
Yep.
So that's pretty wild. It has an insane amount of miles on it. I think it's 200.
Yeah, not quite. Just a low 184.
A low 184. All right. So like brand new for an import. And as you guys can see, this thing sees a lot of road trip duty. It's had the miles put on it. It gets serviced regularly, but now it's getting hot and you can smell some coolant. So I think there's some air in the cooling system. Casey refilled it a few times. Oh, look, we found the leak. What were you looking for?
Oh, look, there it is.
The leak has presented itself. So we were about to pressure test this cooling system, but if you want to, just go ahead and start it up and let's see if we can get a hint of where this coolant's coming out. I mean, I'm seeing coolant here on the cap, around the radiator, over here by the overflow reservoir. Just a lot of coolant. Well, there's no pressure on the reservoir or anything. Ooh, she is out of coolant, isn't she? Usually you can at least see the coolant level, but there is not much left in here. So I think next up, let's put the vacuum system on here and see if it'll hold a vacuum. We'll just go ahead and unhook the overflow reservoir and see if we can find something broken right in here. Obviously it's a plastic capped radiator, plastic fill. Somewhere in here there's a leak, and hopefully it's something easy, like a hose or some of the plastic. We have the Airlift UView 2000 set up, and it's pulling a vacuum, and it is not holding a vacuum. The needle is bouncing around right now between 20, 25, 15. It's literally all over the place, and if I shut the air off, it will immediately lose all of its vacuum. Casey said that he used to see the coolant right here kind of spraying forward, so it makes me think the radiator probably has a hole in it. I'm gonna pull off the fresh air duct here. It goes into the filter box, and let's see if we can find a hole. Yeah, I see whoever worked on it before didn't bother putting any of your push fasteners back, did they?
Oh yeah, we don't need those.
Yeah, it was the dealership, but they were like, nah.
Look at that down on there.
Oh, look at this green everywhere. The whole cat's covered in green. There's your hole. It's the radiator. So there's a spot about this big on the radiator, I'd say 3 inches around, something like that. It looks like a ton of coolant has been leaking out of this thing. Let's stick the camera in there, take a gander. You guys can see that is the hole I'm talking about right there in front of the fan. Like something must, oh, it's wet right there. This may be the best radiator failure I've ever seen. Look at that. It's full of junk, and oh, it's soaking wet right there, right at the very top. Oh. Something happened with the fins, and it's going both directions and running down the radiator, and I mean, you lost a ton of coolant. You wanna go get a radiator and do a little swap-a-roo?
Yep.
I think this can be done pretty quickly.
Time for an LS swap.
I agree. Let's gut this thing. I don't have any spares right now, but I think that guy we bought the S10 one from, he can have one over here in about 6 hours. So let's get this junk out of here, and you'll only need to spend about $15,000 more to fix it.
Easy.
No problem. O'Reilly's has this radiator in stock. Our luck couldn't have been better on this job. So we don't know how this thing comes out, but we're gonna figure it out right now. It looks like we just need to pull this upper core support, and just a few bolts hold that on, and of course a few bolts that hold on the latch, and unhook the fans and the latch sensor there, the hood sensor, and I think we'll be basically home free on getting this radiator out. So we're gonna figure this out together. Well, that's almost the whole under tray. I think we'll continue taking the under tray off of here. There's a couple push fasteners on there. And after that, we're gonna go ahead and pull the front bumper because it's really in the way of a lot of things. So it should just snap off at this point with all of these fasteners out and a couple of Phillips. The under tray is off. Look how much coolant is all over this thing. Just coolant running everywhere. This thing had been leaking for a little while. We might have pulled out 10 bolts and the front bumper is off. So that's pretty impressive, Nissan. I'm kind of liking that. The only thing I need to figure out is what connects it right here. We have everything off the bottom. So there's just two little fasteners holding this on. Apparently we didn't even need to take out all these bolts that we took out. We were just doing those for fun, just kind of see how it works. That was a super easy bumper pull. Unhooked the two lights down low and a couple of push fasteners, and we got her out. So we are into the front end on this thing, which lets us actually see what we need to detach here. Ah, there's a bunch of bolts. Well, that just comes off. You can have that. Are you gonna eat it? You know, I used to do all this stuff the hard way. I would do basically anything on the planet to not pull something like a front bumper. And now on like nice imports, you just know that it was designed to be worked on, and it's like maybe 30 minutes of work. So pretty impressed. We're already getting close. We'll check back in a couple of seconds after we rip a bunch of bolts out of the course part. Now this car is built out of very breakable plastic, and if you get in a collision, all this stuff's probably trash. But in this car, it's never been hit and everything works perfectly. And I'm very impressed by it. So to get the bumper off, it has these slide-on retainers, and it's even marked. It says right hand Nissan. This slides in and holds the bumper on, and then you put a screw in there to lock it. So there's one of those on each side. And then to take the condenser off the radiator, it has a slide-on retainer. It slides on here kind of like that, and that locks it into the radiator's bracket there. And there's another one on this side, and then you just lift up the condenser. As you can see, it's completely free now. And then we were about to take the entire core support out, and what we found out is the radiator is a quick release as well. You undo these two tabs, pull forward, and the radiator just drops out. How awesome is that design? So that means we're ready to stick a pan under this thing, dump all the remaining coolant out, unhook the two hoses, and go get a new radiator. What a job, man. We have been here for minutes. If this was a GM car from the 90s, 5 hours minimum.
Easy.
Tear the whole car down. This is pretty awesome. Boom. The radiator is removed. That is so cool. What a setup, Nissan. Obviously we're cheating by using a big screwdriver to give us the leverage we need, but that thing is done. We've got it out. There are transcooler lines on this. Obviously mostly every Altima is a CVT, so you're gonna have to fight that. We pop them off very gently. There's one on the top, one on the bottom. You can see it's that line right there. And then we plug the lines, which are hiding in here somewhere at this point. And now the radiator is loose. The hoses are off. This hose is incredibly hard to take off. I'm gonna forewarn you, the clamp faces down, and we fought and fought and fought to replace that guy. And now we're ready to lift out the entire radiator. So with a little bit of wiggling, we should be there.
Where we need to be? Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, flush through drainage. Here. The leaky old radiator is out, getting drained down right now, and we are off to pick up our new one and swap these over. We tried to do all this without pulling that front crash bar, the actual bumper, out of there. That is a bad plan. I'm sure Nissan sucks all the refrigerant out of this thing and then pops the coupler on the front of the condenser there and gets everything out of their way. Obviously, we don't want to do that. Anytime I can avoid recharging the AC system, that's a win. So we're trying to leave that intact, and if you pull the front bumper, you can just slide everything out of the way. So it's 8 more bolts, and it saves you a ton of time. All right, G-Force man. What up? All right, we are good to go. We got a radiator. Casey's got some coolant. We are out of here. I knew it wasn't gonna work. A couple minutes later, the new radiator is back in, the condenser is mounted on it, and we are ready to start hooking up the transcooler lines. The actual coolant hoses are already hooked up. You do wanna do that while you're putting the thing together. Just a note, you'll want the remote hose clamp tool very badly for this job. It is tight. No matter what you do, this job is tight. So once you have that, should be done in just a matter of minutes. And as soon as I hook up these next two hoses, we can start putting all the bolts back in. So we're getting close. Bumper can go back on, core support can go back together, and we should be able to fill the coolant in 5 minutes here. Well, Casey, how long's it been?
About 5 minutes.
I thought maybe we went to 10 at least, but it's been just a handful of minutes, and the front end is mostly back together. We are basically at the point of just the bumper and the top. Bumper, underbody, and that's it. Fluids. So this thing is basically back together. I think now, while we still have it apart, we should go ahead and back it down, fill it in case we have any issues, and we can rip it back apart if we were wrong. We're gonna hook the vacuum system back up, see if it holds a vacuum, and find out if we did this right. How's that for a result? You're pulling a nearly perfect vacuum. 25. Time to feed it that new blue Kool-Aid. This is a live indication of how fast you can fill your cooling system with the vacuum tool. I mean, you guys can see it, we're almost out. On to the next one. And 15 seconds later, it's about completely full. Let this last hose finish expanding here. We got about half of this bottle in, and I think this thing's full again. So we're gonna throw the bumper on, put in the rest of the bolts and try it out. See if we fix the overheating issue. Well, the Altima has been running the entire time we put this thing back together. The whole front bumper and basically the whole front clip, even like the air intake, it was running the whole time. So that's been 15, 20 minutes at this point. We tried to get every single thing perfectly back together. And the only thing that's not on here right now is this upper tray, because we needed to steal some of the push fasteners in case he's gonna buy all new ones and put that back in. So that's in the back seat for now, but everything else is back in. Like I said, it's been 20 minutes. The coolant gauge hasn't moved a bit. It is perfectly in the center, right where Casey said it used to live. So obviously the radiator was the fix. Casey's back on the road. Let's go drive this thing around and see how it does. See if he's got consistent AC, a temp gauge that doesn't try to sway around because it's got a bunch of air in the system. And I mean, really, it should just be back on the road. So let's go. There's the temp gauge we wanted to see. It's been sitting like that for the past 30 minutes of runtime, so I think we got it. We've got the AC set to 60 in here. It's ice cold, so the car is keeping up. I guess, I don't know why, but apparently the engine was trying to get hot earlier and the ECU was probably disabling the AC compressor to save itself. That's the only thing I can think of, because Casey said it wouldn't cool, and obviously there's nothing that could have gone wrong with the AC like instantaneously. So it must have like a safety that takes load off the engine by getting rid of the AC. So that's kind of interesting, but now we've got freezing cold air, drives great. You excited?
I'm excited. Nice and cool.
It's been...
The statue is happy.
The statue is happy, because this thing's been leaking coolant for a long time, and we all had to smell it. You guys know that coolant smell continuously is never fun, so now you can drive your car around and not smell coolant. And this whole fix cost like 200 bucks.
Yep.
Not bad. And
about $1,600 less than what the dealership wanted.
I would say that's probably $1,600 less than the dealership's price, and it's honestly really well engineered and not that hard to do. So if you got to do a radiator in your Altima and it's a new one, you're in luck. If it's an old one, probably just crush it.
Totally.
That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.WatchJRGo.com for cool shirts just like this, and please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. All right, have fun, man.
Thanks, dude.
No more coolant leak.
Yep.
Now we don't have to wonder whose car is broken. That was the big thing.
Well, it's always my car that's broken.
I think it's most of mine, actually.
I don't know.
All of them.
I've got broken ones in there too.
You do.
And I'm gonna bring another broken one tomorrow.
If they're in here,
They're broken.
yep.